Hello everyone, my name is Dennis with DonkeySec or DonkeySecurity, whatever your heart desires, and in today's video, we'll be going over the fake GPT lab provided by CyberDefenders. So this lab is completely free, by the way. All we have to do is download the lab files, and then we want to unzip the files using this cyberdefenders.org. Obviously, it will give you a password, and you just copy paste that password, put it in, and then all the files you need to complete this lab will be on the zipped file. Then obviously, for a safe experience, if you do plan on doing some other higher, I guess you can say, dynamic analysis labs, make sure you're in a secure, isolated environment. For this lab, it's just completely static analysis. We're not, looking at malware, see how it spreads. All we're going to be doing is showing how this browser extension that, anyone can download from whatever the App Store or Play Store call is for web browsers. Looking at the web browser extension, see how it actually maps to the MITRE tactics such as credential access collection, command and control, exfiltration. All these tactics that we'll be seeing from this browser extension will appear from the malicious code that we're going to analyze. So yeah, enough talking about the lab. Obviously, we have a scenario right here. So basically, the team alerted people installing a browser called ChatGPT, and then after they installed the browser of ChatGPT, some strange things started to happen. Their accounts were being compromised and sensitive information appeared to be leaking. So we have to perform a thorough analysis of this extension and identify its malicious components. Like always, I've already completed this lab based off all the shorts that I have done, but we'll be going over a more thorough explanation about what this lab is and how I came to the question and answer. So yeah, question number one here: which encoding method does the browser extension use to obscure target URLs, making them more difficult to detect during analysis? So how I'm going to analyze all the code is I'm going to install a software called Visual Studio Code. Basically, it gives you a much more cooler format and it looks easier on my eyes. So yeah, all I did is click File, Open, and then I opened the folder called Lab, and then bam, I do have my JavaScript and I do have my JSON files. And then we do have this nice little image right here. So yeah, right off the bat, we can see how the browser's code is structured. We can see the UI HTML. It says ChatGPT. Welcome to ChatGPT. This extension will help you generate text using AI. There's a note here that says beware of fake versions. Do have a manifest here. Do have a loader. Do have a crypto.js, and we do have app.js. So question one does say, what is the encoding method? So in order to answer question number one, we go to app.js, scroll down, we do see const targets equals, and then we do have this code right here, and I actually just this one there, just do Control-Z. So this is an example of encoding. Basically what encoding does is, what a threat actor tries to do is hide what this code does, right? So for example, whatever this code or encoding is hiding, it'll send it to username and password where it exfiltrates credentials. So because it exfiltrates credentials of username and password, this is probably a login page of maybe a popular site. So there's no reason for ChatGPT browser extension to be exfiltrating credentials, especially username and password of a site. Encoding can also be used by threat actors to evade security detection tools. So enough talk, let's actually just copy and paste this right here. So now we go to CyberChef right here, and basically this is how we decode. We can just do from base64 or will produce facebook.com. So now we know that every time a person with the ChatGPT browser extension goes on facebook.com and they enter their username and password, which is const targets, so I assume that will be the target domain, which is facebook.com. Every time a person enters that username and password, then it will be exfiltrated onto, we scroll down, exfiltrated, okay, be sent to a server, and then this is probably the server that's command and control domain. That's part of the MITRE attack, so that will be the C2 part of the MITRE attack. This will be the credential access. Okay, so yeah, so now we know that facebook.com is it. Let's go back to here, and then which base encoding method. So we do see here that the recipe is from base64, so that's the answer number one. And then we already solved question number two right here. Which website does the extension monitor for data theft? Targeting user accounts who steal sensitive information. That is facebook.com. Now we're on to question number three right here. Which type of HTML element is utilized by the extension to send stolen data. So yeah, we kind of already answered this question. Send to server, it looks like it uses image.src, and then this is the C2 server. So basically I'm gonna repeat myself again. Facebook.com, okay, user enters username and password, okay. Now how do I get that username and password from a command and control server? So this is the command and control server. Okay, now I have your username and password. So that is the answer for question number 3. It'll be image. Question number 4 here says, what is the first specific condition in the code that triggers the extension to deactivate itself? So this question I got tripped on, even though I actually had to make 2 TikToks about this. So obviously we know that this is kind of a dead giveaway. Checks the browser if it's in a virtual environment. So, and it does say an alert right here, basically gives us the answer. Virtual environment detected extension will disable itself. Basically, it's kind of a way for an analyst like ourselves, if it is in a headless Chrome, which means it's a headless browser, the extension will disable itself. Not if what I thought it was, like your typical virtual environment such as VMware or any run. Only if it is in a headless Chrome format, the extension will disable itself. What we use is full browser, and a full browser examples of Chrome, Safari. It's basically what your traditional users use. The reason why the threat actor uses headless Chrome and the extension will disable itself, this is often used for testing and automation, so that if it is a headless Chrome extension format, making it unrenderable for analysts like ourselves to analyze the extension. So all we do is just copy and paste navigator plugins length equals 0. Okay, so question number 5 here says, which event does the extension capture to track user input submitted through forms? Pretty easy. If we just go back to app.js and we do see how the attacker gains our username and password, we can see where the person hits submit, then it triggers the exploited credentials, and what I just said before, sends the server to the command and control server, and yeah, so the answer is submit. So question number 6, which API or method does the extension use to capture and monitor user keystrokes? So again, we just go back to our app.js, and then we do see exfiltrate data keystroke key, and we do see add event listener key down, so that's going to be the function of that. And then, like I just said, it's going to be a little bit repeating for the 3rd time. Every keystroke that has been added for the username and password of facebook.com is going to be exfiltrated to the server C2 domain. So what is the domain where the extension transmits the exfiltrated data? So like always, we already know what the domain is. As I said before, it's mo.lshaddy. I don't know how to pronounce it. Just this is going to be the https mlshaddy.com. Question 8, which function in the code is used to exfiltrate user credentials, including the username and password? So yeah, I mean, the code is super easy, but it's right in front of you. Function exfiltrate credentials, username and password. We see the payload. What I assume what the payload is what the attacker it gets. So the payload, he or she's gonna get the username, the password, and the site. So yeah, obviously, I assume the encrypted payload is so the threat actor's extension doesn't get flagged by a security checker. Okay, question number 9, which encrypted algorithm is applied to secure the data before sending? So yeah, for this one, you kind of gotta look for this a little bit harder. And I do see encrypt payload. I do see AES, so const encrypted AES encrypt data. AES means Advanced Encryption Standard, basically is a method of encrypting data securely, so authorized people such as the threat actor with the extension can look at the data. So as long as someone has this key, then they can read the code. Not read the code, excuse me, just read the data. And the final question here, what does the extension have access to store or manipulate session-related data and authentication information? So this one, we're going back into JSON, and then we do have our manifest. Basically, this is what gives the browser extension permissions, and we do have a way for a threat actor to automatically authenticate without needing a password by cookies. This is something that is really important because as long as they have your cookies, they can easily authenticate to any site that has your cookies, if that makes sense. Because the cookies, they store your login information, your session token, and as long as someone has your session token, they don't even need a password, right? Because the website or whatever already thinks that you're already authenticated once, since you have the session token needed to access that site. But yeah, the lab was super fun. I tried to explain everything to the best of my ability. But if you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see you when I see you in my next video.